What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about MicroStrategy today. It is the end of the week. It's Friday today. About 3 hours, 27 minutes left in this day here. Up a little bit yesterday. I'm surprised. Actually, came back down to close for the day. Maybe it's probably because Bitcoin moved down a little bit by the end of the stock day as well. But here we are, up at new highs, new relative highs, I should say, 97.7K. I'm surprised we're not above $400 right now. I think that inevitably we'll get there. Maybe you're just stagnant or what's the word I'm looking for? Uncertain. There's some uncertainty. You're hesitant because it's the weekend. We're waiting to see how Bitcoin performs over the weekend before we really take off one way or the other, right? And I do think that we're going to go up. I think that Bitcoin's going to gap up this weekend. I really do believe that over the next couple of days here, we'll continue to grow. It's possible, over the weekend, oftentimes we do see very stagnant behavior. And oftentimes, if we're moving up into the weekend, we might move down over the weekend a little bit and then resume moving higher at the start of the week. So if Bitcoin is going to pull back, if it is going to be stifled for the weekend, then maybe it's maybe this is why MSTR is not moving up, right? That could be that. Maybe the speculators, the market makers, the market participants, they're not so sure. They're aware of how Bitcoin does on the weekend. It really doesn't normally make big moves, but sometimes it does. There's been, we talked about this before. That's a stereotype that Bitcoin has. That's a general rule of thumb, but there's been multiple times where on Sunday and early Monday before the stock market opens, Bitcoin's made some rather powerful moves, right? Sunday here, this day, that was a big move, 9% day. Monday, the next day, ate it back up. Here was a big day here. Well, that was a Wednesday. That wasn't really a Sunday. But Sunday here, we moved down a lot, right? Here on this day, that was a Monday, and most of that move happened before the stock market opened. The day before that was Sunday, and that was a relatively big move in the course of this overall move here. Here, that was a Monday, right? Right there. Let's see. Friday after hours. This one Thursday, yeah. I mean, not every big move, but I'm just saying sometimes we do make some big moves over the weekend. So don't count on that, right? Don't count on Bitcoin moving down over the weekend and giving MicroStrategy a lower price to buy on Monday. I think that what's going to happen is we're going to continue moving. I mean, I just made a video on it, man. I really do believe Bitcoin right now is in the process of seeing higher prices. We got to wait for today to close. 7 hours, 24 minutes left. Let's see how it closes. If we do pull back by the end of the day, okay, maybe it got me. Maybe then the weekend will be a little stagnant. But the way it looks right now, it looks like we're just beginning this next continuation of moves that are going to take us higher. So I think it's actually going to be a good weekend. And in which case, we should expect that MicroStrategy either closes bullishly in the next 3 hours, 24 minutes. We're going to have a little bit of a move up somewhere around, if not above, $400. Or if we close here next week, we're going to have a nice gap up. That's kind of the expectation that I have at the moment. If we're looking at this overall, you're in a nice Eve and Adam double bottom breakout formation right now. Okay, if this is an Eve and Adam pattern, and it is, Eve and Adams are some of my like bread and butter whenever it comes to pattern recognition. But $511 is your target area, so you're nowhere near done with this move yet, right? You've still got another $100 plus to go, and I think you will see that. I would assume that this move doesn't die down. It's not going to slow down to that target area, right? You're only going to pick up the pace. So, I mean, at the current trajectory here, I'm gonna use a straight line. I suck at drawing straight lines, so I can draw curved lines pretty well. I can draw them straight for the V. I always draw a good V, but I can't. Maybe I just need to pretend I'm drawing a V. If we're taking it up here, let's just go all the way out until we're at that price target. At this current trajectory, the latest date, the latter date, because we're taking it on the low side here, that would put us out in the end of May that we're at $500. And I could see that happening, right? That's a good minimum standard, but likely what happens, and what I'm trying to say here, is that we will only grow as we approach this target. It'll only get faster. We'll start to separate from this bottom trend line. So I would assume, here saying that it's May 23rd would be the date that we would achieve this if we're going at the minimum pace. My perspective that I'm offering here is that before May 23rd, before the end of the month, probably within the next 2 weeks, MicroStrategy MSTR will be at this price of about $511, something around there, or higher, right? This is just a measure move. You don't have to stop here. You can go higher. You don't have to stop there either. You could find resistance lower. And I'm not saying that it'll be a straight line up like this. I'm not saying that it'll be exactly on the 12th of May like that. I'm just saying that it'll be faster than what we've got going on now. I expect to pick up in pace. So maybe what we do, next week we gap up a little bit, we consolidate, whatever, and then we continue to move up more. I don't know how it's going to look, but I would assume before the 22nd, before the 23rd of May, we will see prices above $500. Now that's rather exciting indeed, because I expect this move, this overall move that we're in right now, if we look at this on a weekly basis, I expect this move to persist through May, going into June, through June, maybe even into early July. And it's pretty obvious that whenever it comes to this move, what I'm talking about is that we have just begun, right? We've literally just broken out of this downtrend, this bull flag look here. We're very similar, like in the sense of I told you I'm bad at drawing straight lines. We're very similar in the same aspect as to like breaking out here. We've got more of a move to go, right? Although I would say more on this line, we're probably actually like closer, more akin to like this, but we have broken out already, so that's why I'm kind of drawing it here. But I think that we've got more to go. I don't think like this here, this is kind of halfway through the move. I don't think we're halfway through the move. I think we're more like a third of the way or a quarter of the way through the move, right? You got more to go. That's all I'm trying to say. Let's see here. If we're taking that into consideration too, just like more to go. If we're looking at this from a low to a high, right? Low to high, that was a 355% move. And I'm taking it from the move where it started. The move didn't start back here. That was the low. But I would say this next move started here. 377%. The moves get bigger. And we go back in time, you can see that these are a lot smaller moves. They only get bigger as the cycle continues. My thoughts are we'll see a move that is overall larger than 377%. You look at that here, 377 right there. That puts you at $1,125. I very much believe that we will not only see that target, but see prices above there. What's right above here? The 1,886,200 fib level here. That's at about $1,150 to $1,270. Something that's overall from the low on April 7th here to whenever this move ends at the end of June or early July, like the first week of July. We're gonna have an overall move that's like something on the lines like 390 to 433% of a pump. Based on the growth that we saw here, I suppose 390 makes sense. 1155 could be the area that we stop at. But based on the MSTR, I'm going to do this one here, MSTR BTC chart. If we do it like this, right, index, MSTR, bam, put it on there. This is MicroStrategy. So the chart we're looking at now is MicroStrategy priced in US dollars. This chart is MicroStrategy priced in Bitcoins. So this chart here, clearly, if we're looking at it right now, whoop, that's not what I meant to do. Clearly, you've got also a very nice Adam and Eve pattern, right? Very Adam-like, very Eve-like, very, very voluptuous Eve there. And it looks like you're breaking out. If you don't like the Adam and Eve, then let's call it a cup and a handle, right? Which is pretty common with Adam and Eve patterns too. You're at the point where you're about to break out versus Bitcoin. You're about to break out versus Bitcoin. You're about to gain some grounds versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin moves up. You're moving faster is what this chart is implicating here. The next movement up, I would only imagine in this whole drop, you're not going to stop in the middle of nowhere. You're not going to stop where there's no significance. You're going to stop right here where there is significance, right at that psychological level of 1% of a Bitcoin, right? It's like $10, $100, $1,000. It's a psychological level right there, these rounded one areas. 1% of a Bitcoin, okay? I'm assuming that by the end of this next rally, by the end of this next endeavor, Bitcoin itself will be at prices that are at, and we've done the math. You guys, we've done it so many times. I'll do it really quick here. This is not enough to deduce what I'm about to say, but it'll help. It'll help. It's pretty damn obvious. But let's take this low here to that high. That was the move that we had here. We take this low here to this high, and I'm not taking the actual low, but just like the move overall. You can see same thing like MicroStrategy. These moves are getting bigger. Okay, so we're only going to get a bigger move. If we saw a move that was similar to the last move here, let me put this back, and then we'll just draw a new one on there. Similar to the last move, 106% up. And it's not going to be similar. It's going to be larger. 106% means Bitcoin's going to about $155,000. If we see a bigger move than that, which we will, that means 160 to 180K is on the menu. Effectively, that's what that means, right? So 160 to 180K. I'm thinking 170 to 180 personally. That's my perspective. The reason why I share that perspective is from a high to a low here. Come on now. Is because that's our golden ratio at 174, 174K right up here. Oftentimes Bitcoin does like to go a little bit through that. So 170, 180K, maybe we stop just below it for whatever reason. I might not be the only person who's aware of that, so we could get some front running. 170 to 180K by the end of June, early July. Okay, 170 to 180K. MSTR versus Bitcoin, going to 1% of a Bitcoin, what's 1%? 1% of 100,000. That's $1,000, right? What's 1% of 170,000? That's 1,700. Now we're getting somewhere, right? MSTR here could go to $1,700. That's just above the 2272. Now here's my caveat to that. Okay, I don't have a problem calling for this. I think $1,700, even prices above $2,000, are possible by the end of June, if not by the end of or the beginning of July, right? I think that this price is possible, but here's my one conniption there is that oftentimes we look. Let's compare MSTR to Bitcoin on this chart right now, and actually it might be better represented this way. New price scale. Here we go, and then I'll just double click this, and we'll make this into a candlestick thing. Okay. Okay, so you can see very clearly which one's Bitcoin and which one's MSTR. If you can't see it, that's okay. I'll clean it up for you. Okay, so let's do this. We'll make the bodies white for Bitcoin. There it is. Is it easier now? Bitcoin chart, MicroStrategy chart. Is it easier now to see which one's which? Bitcoin, whenever it topped off over here, it topped off right there. That was 2 weeks. Oh damn it! I'm not gonna do that. I want it to be blind, so I'm gonna take that away. Actually, it topped off 2 weeks before MicroStrategy. In other words, where MSTR topped off was not at the same price as Bitcoin. So going with the whole, if Bitcoin goes to 170 to 180K, MSTR is 1% of Bitcoin. Therefore, it's going to be 1,700. It might not make sense because what if Bitcoin tops off before or after? Right? The next high here, where MicroStrategy topped off, it topped off well before Bitcoin topped off. You see what I'm saying? So if MicroStrategy, and I do believe, what I very much do believe is that MSTR here versus Bitcoin is going to move up and be worth 1% of a Bitcoin at its high, but that will likely be the topping point. When MSTR, it's not so much the dollar price that matters for MSTR, right? Does that make sense? We're not worried about, and of course we're worried about it, but if it goes to 1,700, 1,100, whatever, this is more or less irrelevant. That's not what you should pay attention to. You should pay attention to the BTC chart, which you have to make. There's no chart like this. You technically have to make it. MSTR to BTC. Once we're at 1% of a Bitcoin, I'll be watching this like a hawk, so I'll let you know. Don't worry. I make videos on MSTR every single damn day, except for the weekends, right? I'll let you know whenever we're here. That'll be the top. And where that price could be, that's what we're trying to deduce. But deduction here, if we're looking at it, would suggest that calling for Bitcoin to go to 170K to 180K and then reflecting that in a 1% price of MicroStrategy to Bitcoin, that would not in itself be enough because likely Bitcoin tops off beforehand. Now, how much does it top off beforehand? I don't know. Here, MSTR topped off here. Bitcoin was at, you see over here, 97. It's basically at the same price now, 97.7K right there. And then it moved up all the way to 107K. So that's greater than a 10% pump. If 170K is the top for Bitcoin, but MSTR tops off beforehand, might then MicroStrategy top off when Bitcoin's worth like 150K, giving us a $1,500 price, stuff like that. I'm just offering that perspective. I hope it makes sense. I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you. I know that can be confusing, but everything I'm saying is coherent and it should make sense. It's articulated very well, I think. I don't think that I have anything else that I want to say other than just, looking at this here and deleting the Bitcoin chart. That way it's not so cluttered. It's possible that we go to 1,700, but I really do think that MicroStrategy tops off either after or before Bitcoin tops off. So the case to be made for something really around 1,300, maybe in between 1,300 and 1,600, which I wouldn't normally call for. But yeah, maybe we go between 1,300 and 1,600. There's no law that says you can't go in between. Let me delete this here so it's a little bit less noise. There's no law in technicals that say you can't stop in between the land of the fibs. You don't have to stop at this line. You don't have to stop at this line. You could stop in between. And if I'm just being real with myself, looking at the charts, it would actually make a lot of sense that we do stop somewhere between $1,600 and $1,300. But I would expect that we're at least above $1,200 by the end of this move, which I think will happen by the end of June, if not early July. I don't think I have anything else that I want to say. We've gone over a lot. We've talked a lot, and I think I've made my point. Weekly RSI looks like it's about to get overbought. That's when you do your best work, man. This kind of hurts my point that I was making earlier that we're not here. We're not halfway through the move already. Because here, when you got overbought, you were basically halfway through the move. But we're not overbought yet, right? We've got some more growth to go. That's all that's saying there, right? We've got a lot of growth to go. Oftentimes, actually, let's just measure real quick. Whenever you got overbought here, how much more did you grow after you got overbought? You grew another, well, I guess to your high, 208%. When you got overbought here, after you closed, how much higher did you go after that? 155%. We're not even overbought yet. You know what I mean? So once we get overbought, you've got probably multiple 100% of growth to go even after that. So that's all I got for you guys. Hit the like button. Good things to come. Good things to come for sure. We're waiting to see how the day closes, waiting to see how the week closes. It would not surprise me at all if we close either above 400 or right around this area, and then next week we have a gap up. That's kind of the expectation. Okay, take care. See you on the next one. Hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe if you haven't. Bye-bye.